the Hello, everyone. Welcome to the League of Women Voters of the Amherst area. Can I use that yet? Anyway, um, on our Judy Brooks series. Judy Brooks, we always remember to honor, who is a very active league member as well as council person and a teacher, and just in everything that was good for the community. And we miss her, and we named this after her because we thought it would definitely be something that she would actually enjoy being involved in. Today, we have the honor of having Laurie Millman, who is the director or the executive director of the Center for New Americans. And we're very excited to hear about your work. And so I'm going to turn it right over to you. My name is Andrea Battle, and welcome to our Judy Brooks series.
Well,
Laurie?
thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm really honored that it's the Judy Brooks series because I remember Judy. And I know that she was a warrior for justice, for
Mhm.
social justice, and believed in building bridges. And I would like to think that that's some of what we do. So I have a presentation to share with you just because I think you get a much better sense of who we are and who we serve if I can share photos with you. But when
Mhm.
I do that and I put it into slideshow mode, you all disappear. So you're going to have to pardon me that I won't be able to see you. And so if you want to ask a question, you should feel free to interrupt me. Oh, actually, I can see you. I have you going down the side, but I'll share the PowerPoint and you can ask me questions if you want, or you can wait till I'm finished and then we can have a conversation. And I think that I named this Fostering Access for Immigrants in Challenging Times. I'm sure you can appreciate why, because I will share our mission with you. But it really feels, really for the first time in really 30 years of working in nonprofits, where our mission is to grant access. And the federal government, for the first time in my career, is not a partner in this, but actually working at cross purposes with us. And so everything we do, you'll see, everything we do in our mission is about granting access to newcomers, to people from all over the world who are working to build a new life here, whether it's our education programs, our connections to community resources, our burgeoning legal services program. Everything is about building access so that people can integrate into their new community and contribute to it, which I'm sure you know they do. And in the past, the public sector was a partner in weaving the safety net with us. And we're in a whole new paradigm now, as I'm sure you know. And so it's a little Sisyphean. So the first thing we do, the foundation of our program, how we were founded close to 35 years ago, was as a program to teach English to speakers of other languages. And we don't say English as a second language because many of our students speak three, four, and five languages. So we teach English for speakers of other languages. And one of our students recently shared with a teacher who was performing an assessment because we assess students so that we can see their progress and they can see their progress. So we assess them periodically, and they do make tremendous learning gains. And one of the students said before English classes, it was like my mouth was locked and my eyes were blind. And it's such an incredibly poetic way of sharing that it's very isolating to be in a place that you don't know
Mhm.
and not be proficient in the language that is spoken. And so what we're doing, we've come to realize that we're unlocking doors. We have a teacher who is retiring. This week is actually her last week after 13 years with us. And we asked her students to contribute messages. And so many of them said, I couldn't talk to a doctor. I couldn't talk to my child's teacher. I was terrified to ask, even in a store, where something was. And now, not only can I talk English, but I have the confidence to actually speak in public. And so it's really, really major to offer these classes. And we actually offer them in 4 different program sites. So we have a center in Amherst, we have a center in Greenfield, we have a center in Northampton, which is where our administrative offices are. We actually teach in Springfield. When we started partnering in welcoming refugees with Catholic Charities Agency, when they were still doing that, we started teaching in Springfield, and we also teach online at night. And even our morning classes are hybrid now, sort of post-pandemic. It was hard to get everybody to come back after the pandemic because there's
Mhm.
all the issues of transportation and childcare. The logistics can be daunting. But this picture you're looking at is our Amherst classroom. We're on Fearing Street. And people often say to us, well, who do you serve? Like, what's the main group? Or I speak Spanish, so can I come tutor? And the truth is, we serve everyone, people from all over the world. And if you think back on the last few years, whenever there are headlines in the news about war, violence, chaos, natural disasters, wherever it is, that's going to reverberate here, right? So with the evacuation from Afghanistan, we had waves of Afghans. Then we had Ukrainians. Now we're welcoming Syrians and, of course, Haitians. So when the Haitians started arriving, and many arrived in Boston, they were put on buses and sent out here, and we welcomed them. They were in shelters in Greenfield on the other side, the west side of the
Mhm.
traffic circle, and they were walking through the traffic circle, highly ill-advised with children. And they came downtown, they found our center, and they showed up on our doorstep and they said, we want classes. And so we wound up working very closely with all of the agencies that were housing them in shelters. And I have to tell you that it's been traumatizing for all of us because rarely have I seen up close a group treated so badly and badly everywhere. I mean, so many of the people that we have served, this is their third country. You know, they left Haiti after the earthquake, some of them. They went to Chile or they went to the DR, they went to Brazil and they were poorly treated there. And they came here, and guess what? We're giving them the same awful treatment. And it's been really traumatizing because many of them are nurses, they're healthcare workers, which we
Mhm.
desperately need. And our government has done everything in its power to undo all of the access that we got them. So, in terms of access, we do everything in our power to reduce barriers for people attending our classes. So, in Amherst, which you're looking at here, we offer free on-site childcare. When students are in our classes, we welcome their young children. We do the same thing in Greenfield. We've done it in Springfield. The only place we don't have room for it, unfortunately, is in Northampton. We just don't have the space. We also, in addition to teaching English and navigating US systems, we teach civics. Um, we invite our legislators to class, and then we go and visit them in the State House because we want several things. We want them to know we're here. We want them to appreciate what immigrants' issues and concerns are. And obviously, we want our students to understand that their legislators work for them. As you know, Joe Comerford, whenever she's in the room, she says, I work for you. You are the people I represent. If something is not working for you, you need to let me know. And of course, as you can imagine, that is a revolutionary concept to many of our students, and it may not be real in the rest of the country. It has proven very real for us here. We worked very hard to get the Work and Family Mobility Act passed, which meant driver's licenses. And you can imagine that when everyone is eligible for a driver's license, that removes the opportunity for a law enforcement traffic stop. And if you remove that opportunity, you're much less likely to have concerns about immigration enforcement. So that was a major victory. But we've worked with our legislators on many other things. One real biggie for them, I'm sure you've heard about the physicians bill, which Mindy Dom was a co-sponsor on because she was in our classes and our students were telling her that they were healthcare professionals in their home country and that Massachusetts is really unique in the amount of hurdles that our licensing agencies erect to keep people from practicing easily. So you have physicians and nurses working as nurse aides when there is a shortage of primary care doctors and pediatricians, and we're not making it easy, even though we've got skilled workers who could fill those niches. So we work very closely with our legislature. And here is this woman, Asani Faraha. She was a nurse with Doctors Without Borders in Burundi. She works currently 2 jobs as a certified nurse aide, having passed the exam finally on her 4th try. And she's working hard now to get ready to take the NCLEX so she can work as a nurse again here. But she went with us to the State House to give testimony on making the certified nurse aide exam more accessible to immigrants because you just can't get there from here. It's just not
Mhm.
an immigrant-friendly exam. And this was us advocating for digital equity um, because internet service is expensive and
Mhm.
it should be accessible since it's very hard to do almost anything right now in this environment without having internet access. And yet it is not a given if you are a newcomer that that is going to be accessible to you. So we are very proud members of the Alliance for Digital Equity. This is a coalition that came together when we had the Affordable Connectivity Project. This was something that Congress had authorized. I don't know if you remember, which mandated that internet service providers provide low-cost internet access, and it was funded through Congress. We got together with the Alliance and we were enrolling our students in this program, and then Congress decided not to continue funding. So we had to recalibrate, and now we distribute hotspots. We lend hundreds and hundreds of tablets, and we organize all kinds of tech workshops because bridging the digital divide is also vital if you want people to have access, whether it's to telehealth or even applying for a job. And we have tech associates now, they're being called digital navigators. In fact, there's a movement to credential that as a recognized position. We always called them tech associates, but we can happily call them digital navigators. But often we hire former students, and we have one in every one of our centers. We also, in addition to teaching English, all classes and students are supported by advisors. And those people are tasked with helping people get a job, connecting them to Mass Health, DTA, um, troubleshooting housing issues. And as you could imagine now, that is a big issue for us, especially with our Haitian students, um, where they were finally, after a year in shelter, whole families in one room for a year, not able to cook for themselves, not able to enjoy traditional foods, finally relocated into apartments, and there was a rush, rush, rush to get everybody out of the shelters. And they were given what's called home-based allowances, a subsidy, but they were put into apartments they can barely afford. And so now we have a major housing crisis as the home-based allowances are ending and people are finding themselves in apartments that they knew they couldn't afford but there was no time for dialogue because the governor wanted the shelters closed and everyone had to be out. And so we just kicked the can down the road, and now we're dealing with this major housing crisis. But in our classes, we teach job readiness, and with our advisors, we do mock interviews, we organize mock job fairs, and then we go to the actual job fairs at the Hampshire Mall or the Basketball Hall of Fame or Cooley Dickinson. Many of these places organize job fairs, and we are there. And it may not come as any surprise to you, but employers are very eager to hire our students. River Valley Co-op is one of our best employer partners. They have
Mhm.
hired several of our students. Basil, Matesso, both former students, both now U.S. citizens who they naturalized with us. And these are folks at the co-op. They pay a living wage. They promote from within. And they're willing to be flexible when hiring someone whose first language is not English, because if you really want to hire immigrants, you need to be a little flexible and you'll be repaid, time and again. So there are several really important employer partners, and we're grateful because our students want to work, they work hard, and and many immigrants are what's, been keeping the economy thriving, and I'll get to that a little bit later. I mentioned that we also have a legal services program, which is also, again, a big part of access, right? I mean, the services that we provide, like helping people get employment authorization or legal permanent residence, which is what would be called a green card, or petitioning for a family member, petitioning for a spouse or a child to come join you, or some of the humanitarian applications. These are all services that we provide. And we also offer citizenship application and preparation assistance. And we help people apply. We match them with a tutor so that they can study. And of course, to do this, because we're not a large group, we rely on many volunteers. And we have community partners. And we really love our partnership with Western New England University School of Law, especially in the last few years when we've applied for asylum for Afghans, we've applied for temporary protected status for Ukrainians, for Haitians, we've applied for asylum for Haitians. It's really helped to have so many additional hands supporting this work. So this was a wonderful quote that a worker from DTA shared. And what she said was that as a data person, she wanted to share that she was marveling at how quickly the immigrants that we serve had transitioned from needing assistance to being fully employed and at living wage jobs. It's no surprise to us, probably not a surprise to you, but her point was that notwithstanding all the garbage that you hear about people coming here so they can get welfare, they're only here for a handout, is what she was saying. With a small amount of support, connection to the Survival Center or Family Outreach of Amherst or any of the wonderful agencies in our community with just a modest amount of support, guess what? People are standing on their own 2 feet, not only quickly, but quicker than any other population we serve. Imagine that. The other thing that I think, I'm not telling you something that you don't know, but if you look at the studies from Mass Inc., the growth in Massachusetts, the only population growth in Massachusetts, has come from the immigrant population. The native-born population is either migrating out or getting older, but not so much of working age. And what happens when the population ages and there's no replacement? Businesses have to leave the state. So the immigration waves that I've described to you, the people that we've welcomed under the Biden administration and before, those are the people who are keeping the Massachusetts economy solid. And when those people are no longer eligible to work, then you have to start worrying not only about the stress on those families, but the fact that those jobs are going to go empty. Let me ask you, who's going to be in the nursing homes working as certified nurse aides if Haitians lose their TPS and get booted out of here? Who's going to do that work? Because there wasn't anybody doing it before. And many of the people who were working were asked to work double shifts. So they'd get a weekend off and they'd get called back into work. So it's not just that welcoming immigrants, as Deval Patrick once said, is the moral thing to do. It's also the economically wise thing to do. So the truth is, according to all these statistics and everything we know, that immigrants really do integrate easily into our communities. And one of the things that we have been doing just on overtime now is trying to connect our students and clients more closely to the tremendous community resources we have, as all of the executive orders about SNAP, about mass health, about fuel assistance, all of the different pillars of the safety net are being intentionally denied to immigrants. The community and the state have to rally. Otherwise, we've got a humanitarian crisis on our hands. The other thing that we're doing, we're not proud. When we see a good idea, we borrow it. And one of the things we learned from Catholic Charities when we worked as their ESOL partner all those years that they were welcoming refugees was that the circles of care were brilliant. The circles of care took groups of volunteers, one coordinator, 4 to 6 people, and surrounded a family and helped them read their mail and helped them take the bus and helped them locate food resources. And so for some of our students, especially the Haitians, who are in such dire straits because they got employment eligibility, we filed for it only to have it yanked away by making them, ineligible. This executive order, that we understand the game plan. It's all designed to help to encourage people to self-deport. That's what the goal is. Make life so miserable and so unwelcoming that people will self-deport. But anyway, what we're trying to do is organize circles of care to help people connect with volunteers who can provide that extra level of support, since we have to be more creative about how to do that. The other thing some of you may know, we have this wonderful annual event, 30 Poems in November, where people write and raise for us. So in addition to whatever public and foundation funding we get, we do a lot of work raising individual funds. And of course, you can come see us on July 4th. The League of Women Voters in Northampton registers people to vote every year at our ceremony. If the weather holds, we will hold our 18th naturalization on the grounds of the courthouse in Northampton. And it's the Amherst Boy Scout troop that provides the color guard every year. It's really awesome to see them and welcome them. Hundreds and hundreds of people show up with signs that say, "You belong here." And that really matters to us, because in a time when we feel like we're really under attack, it's the warmth and the linked arms of the community, I think, that make this work possible. So thanks for hearing me out, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you so much, Laurie. That's incredible. I knew about it, but I didn't know this much about it. It's really wonderful. Um, Anybody have questions? Okay, Shell, was that? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just Laurie, you might want to give a shout out to the 30 Poems event that I think a lot of people on this call might want a reminder of.
Yeah, I just did. I did.
Oh,
I
I
just
stepped out of the room
did.
for a moment.
Yeah, I did. Yep. And yes, I know that Dina writes, has written for many years. But yeah, I just mentioned that it's a major fundraiser for us, which is especially important in a time when public funding is less certain. And it's not just, I mean, the writing and raising, people write a poem a day for 30 days or not. Nobody knows if they do or not, but they try, and many people really appreciate that discipline. And the funds are fantastic. I mean, last year we raised $100,000, which is
Oh,
pretty phenomenal for poetry, but we had, about 100 people participating. But there's also a lot of sharing that goes on. So there's remembering immigrant grandparents, there's
Mhm.
honoring immigrant neighbors, there's a lot of thrashing about politics. So it's sort of a nice community dialogue for 30
Yeah.
days. And
And it's
it's
always
a
really
lot of
nice to
fun.
go to the reading. Sometimes I've
Right.
gone virtually and sometimes I've been in the room. And
Yeah.
it's wonderful to see that outpouring of support
Yeah.
and to hear all the wonderful poems. And it's ironic. I was just checking in with Dina about something and missed you giving that plug.
Thanks. Sue?
Sue, you're mute.
You've talked about the circles of care and um, how valuable that is. Are there ways that we could encourage people within the community to get involved in
Sure.
providing support? I mean,
Sure.
you don't need, you know, if we're not multilingual, um,
No, you
there's
don't
a
need to be
limit.
multilingual.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have a volunteer page on our website, and there now is an option for circles of care. But I'll give you an example. As I said, there are so many crises now where a lot of people are looking to move out of apartments that are ridiculously expensive and going to look at apartments and filling out applications. There are also, I mean, my colleagues are there are, if fuel assistance is denied, people are reapplying. There's forms upon forms to be filled out. And I'm sure you know the bureaucratic forms, whether it's Mass Health or DTA or whatever it is, they're not easy for people who are born here. They're especially difficult for people who are learning the language and the customs. And everything is harder. The Mass Health now you have to recertify. If you're eligible, if they haven't kicked you off, you have to recertify every 6 months now instead of every year.
Oh,
So everything is harder. Everything takes time. Having volunteers to help would really be wonderful. People can go to our website and apply. We have a volunteer coordinator. You fill out an application. It's not hard. She'd get in touch with you and we have celebrations. Sometimes we ask people to drive students if they don't have transportation. There are lots of ways people can help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
anybody else? Bonnie?
You had to deal with any ICE enforcement um, events, or do you have the feeling that that is probably not going to be happening in Western Mass in the current year?
Um, it has happened in Western Mass, and I think that right now ICE has changed tactics. I think that after Minneapolis, the big dramatic, um, you know, visible show up and grab people um, is not the approach they're taking anymore. But we absolutely changed how we operate. So if you came into our center, you'd see that there are private signs on every
Mhm.
door. So, anything that is not open to the public has a private sign. We don't hold any classes where we don't have a coordinator on site so that if anything were to happen, teachers and advisors wouldn't have to deal with it. There have been people picked up off the street in Massachusetts. We would get notified not just by the Luce networks, but there are friends in government who would let us know if ICE was in town. We have had partners of students detained. So I don't think they're doing big, flashy, you know, approaches these days, but their data is so invasive. I mean, they really know where everybody is. And because we have a legal services department, we worry when people go to court. We've been fortunate that a lot of our hearings are by WebEx, and we request those whenever possible. But when someone does have a court date, we try to accompany them just to make it harder for them to disappear somebody without us knowing what's happened. So it's still a fear, but not as terrifying as it was a year ago, where I mean, we had actually gotten a notice from the Mass Law Reform Institute that that Massachusetts was next after Minneapolis, and I don't know whether that was the plan or it was a rumor, but we actually migrated all of our classes online in February just because not only didn't we want to take the chance, but we didn't want our students to have to choose whether to come to class. And not all of our students have documents.
I know there are some legislative efforts going on that the league is supporting in Boston. Do you have feeling if this new legislation is going to actually protect your clients?
Um, it's certainly a step in the right direction. I mean, the Protect Act does try to keep some places off limits. I mean, during the first Trump administration, there was this understanding of sensitive locations. I'm sure you all remember Lucio, where
Right.
not only did they respect the sanctuary, the church, but when he had hernia surgery, right? They respected the hospital, right? I mean, there was just an understanding. It was, even then, it was more civil, as horrible as it was. There was a civility that seems to be lacking now. So I think the Protect Act in particular is an effort to restore some of those, have some spaces be sensitive locations, like schools, like state buildings, like courthouses, which it shouldn't be that you're complying with a summons to show up and need to worry that you won't see your children that night. That's not how a civilized society should work. And I have to say that I have tremendous appreciation for the Massachusetts legislature, for the AG, who is fierce. She is absolutely fierce. And I know our legal team went recently to a Federal Bar Association conference, and they said, man, we are fortunate to work in Massachusetts because the law is applied differently in different places. And we have allies in the state government. And, you know, we also, there's a really bold pilot project that the legislature funded that we're sitting here on pins and needles waiting to see if they'll refund it, which is what they refer to as, everything is acronyms in state government, but it's called the MACI project. It's the Massachusetts Access to Counsel Initiative. And it's bold. I mean, if you are not an immigrant and you are arrested, you have a right to pro bono counsel, right? You have a right to a public defender. Not true for immigrants. Immigrants never had that right. And that's what the Massachusetts legislature was trying to do, because people who are in removal hearings or in detention are much less likely to have any say at all if they are not represented. And so the legislature authorized $5 million, and we got one of the grants since we hired another lawyer. And now we're representing people who are in removal hearings. Now, it's a little hard to do that when they're fixing the courts. So now they're removing any judge who has any legitimate experience. Immigration law is very complex. They're trying to put in military people who don't know immigration law. And any judge who shows any empathy is summarily removed. So it's pretty hard to be an attorney arguing a case when you know the system is rigged. But sometimes they thread the needle a different way. And we're praying that the legislature funds this program again because otherwise these people haven't got a fighting chance. They just got locked up somewhere. Nobody knows where. Moved to a state like Louisiana where, nobody knows they're there. They have no access to their family, their counsel. But, we've got people fighting, filing habeas petitions demanding due process. And that's our legislature making that happen. So we're taking advantage of every thread that they give us. It's not easy, though.
Yeah. You were saying that the judges that are trying to be fair or whatever, how do they remove them?
They fire them.
Huh?
They fire
Oh,
them. They're federal judges. Trump just fires them.
oh, you mean from that they're
I
on the
mean, he
federal
fires
level?
them.
Oh, okay. If you said federal level, that would make sense.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I know
Some of these are
I get you saying.
federal
Okay.
judges, and
Okay.
Trump just fires them. So,
Yeah.
you
Well.
know, we have this attorney who's defending a guy who's in detention. He's in Plymouth. And she goes to see him, and she's, gotten all kinds of documents ready to defend him. And I said to the supervising attorney today, does she have a chance? And he said, probably not,
Mm.
because she'll argue the case before a judge who, immigration judges are federally appointed.
Jordine has a question.
I do. Thank you. I work with a similar nonprofit down in Louisiana. Um,
Good
and
for
it's
you.
quite a different story down there.
Mhm.
I'm in Massachusetts right now for the summer though. So I have a couple questions. So what data do you collect on your students and how do you store it in a secure spot?
Well, we collect the data that the Department of Education, elementary and secondary education requires us to keep. So,
Okay.
really name, address, where they work. We never used to collect social security numbers if they had them. We do now because we don't keep that information, but we report it to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education because they want to see whether people are getting jobs. I mean, our funding comes from the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, so it's workforce based. And we're responsible for ensuring that we help people to get into the workforce. It's a very good question, and we've really struggled with it. Our data is all in an online database. We have tech people who we have a tech consultant who manages our security, and we agonized about what would happen if there were an ICE. I mean, nothing is in cabinets anymore. I mean, we don't have paper files, but ultimately we came to believe that with folks like Palantir and all the other data that is available to ICE, they really don't need us.
Mhm.
We used to agonize about what would happen if they came in and they demanded somebody's laptop, like, would you refuse to log in? But our data people said they really don't need little Center for New Americans to tell them who these people are because with facial recognition software and all the other invasive tools they have, they know where people are. They
Mhm,
know how to find them.
mhm. Okay.
We're a little pimple on the, proverbial elephant.
Here, yes. And financials, what is your operating budget and how many paid staff and how many volunteer staff and
We have grown tremendously in the last few years, especially when we started partnering with Catholic charities and they were referring refugees to us. So our budget right now is about $1.4 million. Probably 60% of that is the award we get from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education to run our English classes. DESE requires a match. They require a 20% match, but we have to match much more than that. We used to get CDBG funds. We still get some, but that's HUD funding, comes, Housing and Urban Development. And we have gotten it in Amherst, which we're very grateful for. We get it in Northampton, although it's been significantly reduced. We get money from private foundations. We get money from the United Way. When we're lucky, we get it from the Community Foundation. Our legal work is supported by the Mass Bar Foundation. Again, other private foundations. We do a lot of individual fundraising. That's what 30 Poems in November is about. We go into the mail twice a year.
Mhm.
Every so often, River Valley Co-op owners nominate us the recipient of the Change for Change. And when you round up at the cash register, let me tell you, that makes a big difference to the nonprofit.
Mm.
And we do get other state funding. We get money from the Office for Refugees and Immigrants, especially because we serve refugees. Our citizenship program, the application, well, you have to pay the government for the application, but you don't pay us because that's grant funded.
Okay.
So we're fortunate that our funding has been diverse. I think that's the only way to survive now. And every year, no matter how good a year you have, the next year you have to hold your breath.
And staffing?
So we have just 4 full-time staff, which is really hard for people, but I'm pretty much a nut about that because it's horrible to give someone a full-time job and tell them the following year you just can't do it. So all of our teachers are part-time, our advisors are part-time, and anybody who wants more hours either wears more hats or people work, at different organizations. But you could work with us as a teacher and then train to assess students. You could help develop curriculum if you want more hours. But most of our staff are part-time, and there are about 34 of us because we're in so many different locations.
Thank you.
So I just have a couple of questions too. So you are partly funded. You are receiving some funds from the federal government?
Not directly. So, yes, the federal government funds the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. So DESE, as we refer to them, is funded partly by the state legislature. So we're holding our breath now, obviously, because the budget is in conference committee. And if they cut that line item, DESE will cut our award. And then we either have to cut classes or find another way to fund them.
Okay.
But DESE receives money both from the state legislature and from the workforce, from OCTE, which is the Office for Career Technical, I don't know, I can't remember all these acronyms, but it's a federal Office of Workforce Development.
Right. So, but it's really channeled through the state. So you're
Yes, it
really
is.
getting
Yes, it
from
is.
the
We
state.
we do not apply to the federal government for
Right,
anything.
right. That's great. So we're at this point, and where would you think that, or share with us where you need the most help or assistance or support at this point? Choose two or
Um,
three.
well, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, probably, you know, we have a very robust volunteer network, but we always welcome volunteers. Certainly talking about us, telling people how important the work we do is, and sharing it. You know, the individual fundraising is very, you know, I think the organizations that survive are organizations that have multiple baskets, right? I mean, you can't rely on any one source of funding now, right? A funder can fund you for years and make a different decision tomorrow, and you have to replace that funding or get rid of the program. So I can't minimize the importance of funding. Introducing us to places, businesses, foundations that we don't know about, you know? But as I said, volunteers, I mean, also, I know there's a mutual aid network in Franklin County that came out of the Franklin County Continuing the Revolution. And we've tapped into that mutual aid network in Franklin County. I'm not sure there is one here, but we have a student who just had her electricity turned off for not paying the Eversource bill on time. I'm not sure she appreciated how dire the notices were that she was receiving, and now we have to apply to Raft. At one time, we had an emergency fund, the community foundation, during the pandemic when some of us could get stimulus payments. People without documents could not. And the legislature felt bad, but they couldn't actually fund undocumented people. They felt bad, but not that bad. So they allocated a line item to the community foundations and said, do what you need to do, and we don't want to know what you're doing. And the community foundation gave out pockets of money, and we gave out awards. We paid people's electric bills. We paid people's heating bills. We paid people's rent. I mean, it's hard to do that without a mutual aid fund because we also have to pay our staff. You know, people really prefer to get paid and not be furloughed. And I actually worked through a furlough at this agency, and having worked through it, I am crazy now that I'm signing the checks to make certain that never happens again. It's not fun to have staff who don't get paid on Fridays or told to stay home one day a week because you don't have the funds to pay them. But creating a mutual aid fund for those emergencies, because if you were working and lost your work authorization, you know, if you were getting SNAP benefits and those have been yanked away, if the safety net is fraying, what do you do? So having an emergency fund that people can appeal to is a godsend. And that's what our advisors do. Our advisors suss out all those resources in the community and figure out how to get people that help until they can figure out a next step.
Is there any way that we could be of support with anything going on in the legislature? You mentioned something.
You can always advocate for immigrant-friendly policies. I mean, we'd love to see that fund, that legal defense fund, continue, right? That's funding an attorney who is supporting people in removal hearings. We'd love to see them fully fund the adult basic education line item. That's what pays for our classes. I mean, but we also understand that they're faced with the same issue we're faced with. You know, we know that if the federal funding isn't supporting mass health, and health costs are what would they tell you, like over 75% of the state budget, right? I mean, it's an astounding amount. They're being stretched too. So we get it. I would say anybody who's advocating to cut the income tax should have their head examined. That might give people short-term relief, but it will kill the state's ability to, you know, respond to these crises. And that fair share amendment has been amazing. We heard all the garbage. Oh my God, all the millionaires are going to leave Massachusetts. Well, the millionaires didn't leave Massachusetts, and that millionaires tax is creating a fund that is being funneled back into transportation, which we sorely need in this region. And they're looking at all these, you know, pilot microtransit, which we need because we don't have the population for the other bus routes, and education. It's been a godsend. So don't let anybody cut the income tax. You know, That feels good in the
I
moment
mean,
until your
what will,
services
yeah,
go away, and then it
yeah.
doesn't feel so
Mhm.
good.
Well, what would the rich people do if they didn't get these tax breaks? I mean,
Well,
they'll just be much
it's this
less
very
rich, and that's,
short-sighted, you know,
yeah,
approach to a short-term benefit as you cut the safety net further. Who are we kidding here?
it's sad. It's just sad.
But thank you for asking.
So some of the ways that we might be able to help and tell other people how to help, what would be some of the ways that you would suggest that we look into? I mean, you've mentioned several and I have them like written, but simply as possible, because maybe some of us can do things that we haven't done. Some of us do things, but there are other things you can do,
Yeah.
so.
Well, listen, our representatives, Mindy Dom, Joe Comerford, they are all fierce supporters of our work. Read their newsletters, see what they're supporting, and advocate, and help them. Legislators remember Obama. He asked everyone to be the wind at his back. He couldn't do it without people. So follow the policies and see
Mhm.
which policies are immigrant friendly. Advocate for ways to support immigrants who are being knocked off of health care and SNAP benefits. People are trying to make a living. Advocate for recredentialing that helps people who are trained as nurses to get jobs here. God knows we need them.
Mhm.
Share the word. You never know who knows somebody who can help to fund us. Sign up for 30 poems in November. We have a great time and we raise important money. And then we have a reading and we even publish your poem in a book and you get to keep a copy of the book for free. So, you stay in touch with us. Get our newsletter. You can just visit our website and, I can put it in the chat, but it's pretty simple. But check out what we're doing. Come out on July 4th. It'll make you feel good. One of the things about July 4th is I have to stand up there and talk about the birth of this country on July 4th. And I have my heart in my mouth. And I'm looking out at a sea of people who have done everything to be part of this country. It still means something to a lot of people. It looks really tarnished and, you know, faded to us. It looks crooked and wrong. But to the people who are sitting there and they're holding American flags, it means the world to them.
Mhm.
And it's really important, it's helpful to see how meaningful this is because
Mhm.
I think it helps you remember what the ideals were and maybe to renew the commitment to get closer to those ideals because these newcomers, they believe the dream. They really believe it. And for them, it's still better in some cases than what they're leaving. So then you just sort of recommit to try and make those ideals what they were meant to be because all these people are counting on it. So come
Mhm.
out on July 4th. If it rains, we're going to be inside. There's not as much room. If it's nice, 1 hour. You're there at 11. You're done by 12. You can go on to the barbecue, the beach, all the other stuff you do on the 4th. It's an amazing event. 1 hour.
Mhm. Is that the swearing in for citizenship there?
Yeah.
Sue, when do that we do this?
July 4th, 11
No,
o'clock.
no, in Amherst.
Oh,
You
Amherst,
you you
you
mute.
do it at UMass. Amherst has a UMass has a ceremony every year.
Actually,
We
there
do it
there are
in
two.
Northampton.
We
Maybe the
do it.
library does it
We
also.
do it.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
Jones
Oh, you
Library
do it.
one is held at the Munson Library in
Munson
South Amherst,
Library.
and
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
because I go
in
every year.
Yeah.
September.
Well, good
At
for you. Yeah, that's
National
awesome.
Voter Registration Day
Yeah,
is when they hold it.
that's
And
awesome.
we've now finally built a collaboration with UMass that we're gonna be invited to their annual. I got the date. It's in May
That's
of
wonderful. Yeah, they
2027.
just had one. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
wonderful.
So yeah, it's fabulous. there's nothing more moving
Okay,
Right.
than
Martha?
being there and seeing.
Right,
Yeah,
because it
no,
means the
it
world
really,
to people. They're all dressed up and they're tearing up and
along with me, yes, I
Their
cry.
children are there, their
yeah,
parents are
yeah,
there,
yeah, yeah.
it's just a love fest.
It's a big deal. Yeah,
It
It's a
is a
really
big
big
deal.
deal.
It is a big deal. And I hope that we continue to have a country that they want to be in.
I'm with
That is
you.
what I've been talking to God about it, but he's a little slow sometimes. And Martha,
Uh, Yes, a good friend of mine sent me a note. It has a nice quote when we feel, agonized about our history on 4th of July, uh, you know, balancing the good and the bad. Her quote is, "Our nation is a work in progress. Its full promise is ours to realize."
True that.
I like that.
So I think that's a good theme. We
Fair
know
enough.
anywhere near our ideal yet, but
Yep, I like that.
I do
yeah.
too. It's
Okay.
very nice.
Yes. I would also like to ask, are you a registered charity that people can
Oh yeah, sure. We're a 501c3, of course.
Yeah, 501c3?
Oh yeah, we could not accept donations any other way. We have a
Yeah.
certificate of solicitation from the state. We have an annual audit.
Mhm.
The whole deal.
Thank you.
Right. That's
And
good
thank
to
you very much for coming today and
Of course.
sharing with us.
Okay, anybody else have questions?
No, thank
I
you.
have one other thing. Um, I'm involved with two other nonprofits, and I've been learning recently more about donor advised funds
Oh yes.
where people can take money from their retirement accounts, the annual
Fantastic.
distribution, and directly donate it to a nonprofit. And
Mm-hmm.
it's it's really it's really easy for people to do. And if we don't remember to tell them that that's an option, then they're not going to think of it. You know, it's it's a
Yes, that's
new,
fantastic. And
yeah,
there's recently been a whole movement with the Resilient Valley. I guess this
exactly. Yeah,
match my DAF thing, but it's incredible. And we get just, I mean, we have one donor who the money arrives automatically from her fund at the community foundation every month. It's stunning. It's just an automatic. She's got it on some kind of, monthly distribution. It's a beautiful thing.
and there's a lot to be said for you knowing that every month something is coming in instead of, the lump sums that are
I must
sporadic.
say the number of people who have started donating monthly has increased exponentially in the
Great.
last couple of years. People who are just distraught and
Mhm.
wanted to do something. It's been quite stunning for us.
Fabulous.
Anybody else have questions?
Lori, do you feel like it's better for people to donate monthly than give you a hunk of money and you use it as you need to throughout the year?
Um,
Is it
You'll
more
take
on
it
for the
anyway,
donor's
people.
benefit? No, I
I
understand,
think
but is it more for their benefit to feel good every month that they're doing something, or is it really more useful?
I think what they do is they set it up and they don't think about it. So it's an ongoing donation. It's the
Yeah,
gift that just
I'm
keeps.
asking how it impacts you. Is it better?
Oh, it's
Is
great for
there any
cash flow, I'll
benefit?
tell you that. It's very nice
Yeah,
for cash flow that we get money every month because we
Mhm.
do have not boom and bust, but obviously when 30 Poems is in session, we have a lot of cash. And then when our DESI award runs out, not so much. So, there's the
okay, yeah.
revenue
So
and
it
then there's
is,
cash
there
flow.
is,
So
yeah,
there's something very nice to the monthly rhythm because you have to make payroll twice a month. So,
right, right, right.
it's very nice.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Lori. We really appreciate you. I mean, this is, we're going to promote this, and now that we were able to, to tape it, I really want people to tell your friends who missed it to look at it, and let's look into, as individuals, to doing the right thing. It's just really, it's I just feel so bad in a nation of immigrants, which this is, except for some of the Native Americans that were here, several, and they came, but they were here. Everybody else is either an immigrant or someone who was pulled in here by force. It's amazing. It's amazing, that there's an
I agree. It's hard to
anti-immigrant thing.
believe. Even
Good.
when, sometimes when I'm writing the July 4th speech, I go back and see what other presidents have said. And every president before this one, even Ronald Reagan, George Bush, every president is on record as recognizing, welcoming immigrants as our secret
Yes.
power.
Yeah.
This is the first
Yeah. Well,
aberration.
you have
But
to be able to actually read to be able to say those things. I'm just saying, and that's not a lie. Anyway,
well,
did
thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. Thank
Jordine,
you
did
for
you
your
want to say something?
questions.
Oh, okay, no. Thank you so much. This was a wonderful presentation, and I will definitely be passing it around. Did you want to say something, Shel? You're muted.
I was just waving applause.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you,
thank
everyone.
you so much. This was beautiful.
Thanks for
Thank you,
coming. Thanks
everyone.
for caring.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh, we do.
bye.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone, for coming.